The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place with my partner, Ian Parker. I am Brett Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
What's up, everybody? It is time for UFC Best Bets this week, and it is a good one coming from the O2 Arena in London, England. The UFC has made a habit of going overseas to the O2, and they've also made a habit of headlining those cards with the heavyweight Tom Aspinall. A little bit of different circumstances here. Tom Aspinall coming off of a year-long layoff due to an injury. The last time he was out there, he fought Curtis Blades. The fight lasted 15 seconds. We saw him go down with a knee injury. He is back, which I'm very excited to see, and I'm very excited to talk about it from a gambling perspective with my buddy, Ian Parker, who joins us from Florida. And before we get to this awesome main event and, this fantastic heavyweight contender in Aspinall, I want to talk about last week UFC Fight Night from the Apex. Myra Bueno Silva getting it done against Holly Holm in the main event. How did we do on our best bets and our parlay, Mr. Parker?
Well, we hit 3 and 2. We were profitable. If you put a unit on each one, we kind of got by. Just because Terrence McKinney, one of our 2 losses, was plus odds, and we lost with Holly Holm. We hit Park Iron Turtle, there. We hit Norma Dumont, who made Chelsea Chandler run out of the country, and we hit Lutz Bagdasarian to start round 3, and we hit the parlay. So we had a profitable night. Not one of our best, but profit's profit. Moving on to UFC London. I want to have a really strong showing tonight, because then you and I are going to be together in person to absolutely crush UFC 291 next week in Salt Lake.
Absolutely right. Profit is profit. And the ones that we did hit last week, they were drama-free. So it's always nice to feel like you got those easy money ones. You didn't have to sweat at all, and those were some of the best bets that we hit last week. So let's repeat this one. You can find the main card from London, England on ESPN Plus. A little bit of a different start time due to the time difference, of course. 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. It's a 6-fight main card. A lot of different fights, a lot of different stylistic matchups, fun stylistic matchups to talk about. The biggest favorite we got is in that main event. Otherwise, these are pretty competitive fights. So that's always fun to talk about here on UFC Best Bets. Let's start off right there. Tom Aspinall versus Marcin Tybura. You've got Tom Aspinall, who I don't think I'm stepping out on a limb here, man. I really like this guy. I like everything he brings to the table. He's been practicing jiu-jitsu since he was 6. The guy's done sparring boxing matches with Tyson Fury. He's going up against a guy, Marcin Tybura, who's quietly gone 7-1 in his last 8, and he's plus 350 here. What do you think of the odds on this main event?
Yeah, the odds make sense. You're looking at Tom Aspinall as the next big thing, the true-to-form blue-chip prospect against someone like Marcin Tybura, who's become the litmus test at heavyweight almost, right? He plays spoiler to all the prospects. Aspinall, up until the Curtis Blades fight where he lost because of that knee injury, he looked amazing. He looked very well-rounded. His skill set was there, the stand-up, the submission game. The only thing we haven't really seen with him is his cardio tested, which is something that Tybura can do. Do I think this fight's going to last very long? If it goes based on what we've seen out of Aspinall, probably not. But Tybura has shown durability. He's shown to be able to outlast and to really push fighters into those deeper rounds where that's where he kind of gets a little bit of an edge. Now, that doesn't mean I'm sitting here saying that, Tybura is going to be able to withstand rounds 1 and 2 from Aspinall and drag it into deep waters. I don't. But when you look at your opponent, you look at Aspinall's been out for a year. I do think Aspinall is going to be a little hesitant in the beginning. When guys come off the knee injuries, they don't necessarily go out there and just throw a kick. But for me, I think Tom Aspinall gets it done. I'm going to go with him to win by TKO or KO. They were getting minus 165 there.
All right, minus 165. We're going to go with the method of victory. Real quick, before we move on to the co-main event, what do you think about the total here? And I can see it going both ways, man. I mean, with Tom Aspinall, he's just so clever in how he's finding these finishes. We've seen the first-round finishes throughout his UFC career. But as you mentioned, coming off of a year layoff, will there be some caution? And Marcin Tybura, I got to believe that part of the game plan itself is just to extend this fight, man. Force Aspinall to fight into the second and third rounds. What do you think about the over-under on 1.5?
You know what? It's an interesting number. I was really hoping it would be 2.5 and we'd be able to take it under there. But Tybura has found ways to weather storms and last and be able to push fights deeper. You saw it against Ivanov. You saw it against the Romanov fight where I thought he got 10-8 in round 1. He was able to come back round 2 and 3 where I thought it was a draw. He won. He's pretty good on the ground. I just don't see him able to take Aspinall down. So I'm going to lean over 1.5, not an official play here, because I do think with Aspinall being out, I think he's going to take his time. I don't think he's going to rush into anything. Or he may do the exact opposite and shoot for a takedown and not use his legs at all. But I'll go over 1.5 at the plus odds number. But it's an interesting one. It really could go either way.
I agree, man. I agree. I think it's worth taking a shot at the over plus 1.5. But you're going to sweat it. You're going to sweat it a little bit because I'm telling you right now, it's heavyweights, obviously, with the small gloves. And Tom Aspinall, man, this guy has just been such a finisher throughout his entire MMA career. He just has got a nose for it. I think you're just born with it, and he is born finisher. So it's always going to be a little nerve-wracking taking the over of a Tom Aspinall fight. Let's move to the co-main event. Molly McCann, that's another familiar face on these London events. She's taking on Julia Stoliarenko, and take a look at these odds movements. Molly McCann minus 390 on July 12th when these odds were released by Caesars Sportsbook. 4 days later, she dropped to minus 260, and 4 days after that, she drops down to where she is minus 200. So obviously a lot of faith in the underdog here, Stoliarenko. What do you think of the line movement, and ultimately, how do you bet this fight, Ian?
Well, look, the line movement makes a ton of sense. You got someone in Stoliarenko who all of her wins have been by finish and all by submission and all by armbar, if you want to get uber specific here. And what did we just see out of Molly McCann? She just lost by submission, and it's not the first time we've seen that either. So when you got a striker versus a grappler, literally as it goes, and Stoliarenko can throw, she's a little bit of a brawler. You know, it's worth taking a shot. I don't think Molly should be that big of a favorite over anyone in the UFC, and it's no disrespect to her. It's just that right now, she is someone who likes to strike. She likes to go for the knockout, and she performs better in her backyard, which is also why these odds are the way they are. I have no issue with anyone taking a flyer on Stoliarenko here, because if that fight gets to the floor, Molly is no longer the favorite. For me, it's under 2.5. Therefore, I don't care who wins or loses. I don't see this fight even touching the third round.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that she does fight well in London. She fights extremely aggressive in London as well. But when the fight hits the ground, we have seen that opponents can have their way against Molly McCann. Does that give you any thought of taking a method of victory here? Because you can find some good value on some of these props, and if you believe that the fight is not going to go the full distance, what do you think? You sprinkle anything on some of these methods to victory, Ian?
Well, look, if you got Stoliarenko earlier on that +3 and change number, you don't need to get greedy. But if you're getting her now at +170, you might as well take her to win by sub at +350. And for Molly, yeah, you can't take her at -200. So to win by KO or TKO at +140, if you even want to get more creative with Molly and you think she's going to win, you could do a double method of victory to win by TKO, KO, or decision, and the odds will be way better than the -200. Those are the two ways I would go. The number is wild to me. Under 2.5. I'm actually surprised we're getting only -155 there. I think it's a good number for that.
All right, good number there on the total in the co-main event. Let's go through the rest of the 6-fight main card on ESPN+. We move to the 145-pound division. This could be an action fight, man. You got Nathaniel Wood taking on Andre Feely. What do we think of these odds on this 145-pound fight?
Looks like a lot of people are on Nathaniel Wood here. I think that number at -205 is a little crazy. He has looked good at the bigger weight class, but he hasn't fought the same level of competition as Andre Feely. You know, if this fight goes any which way, I'm going to go with it goes to the distance at -200. Feely is very tough to put away. Yes, he got KO'd by Brito. That's a big difference. Nathaniel Wood is a decision guy, just the way he fights. And I don't know if the power really translates. I don't think he carries that KO power in this weight class. Feely's going to have the range. He's also a good grappler himself. I like this fight to go the distance here.
All right, going the distance there. Let's go to the 185-pound division. If you like grappling, man, this should be in a treat for you. Paul Craig taking on Andre Muniz. Interesting fight. What do you think of this one?
You know, if I'm Paul Craig and I'm making my debut at middleweight and I'm really good at jiu-jitsu, I don't take it against someone who's way better than me at jiu-jitsu, and that's Andre Muniz. Yes, he did lose to Brendan Allen, got choked out, he gassed out fine, but when it comes to jiu-jitsu, Muniz is way better. He's better on the feet. I think this is Andre Muniz. I don't even mind betting him at -220. I think that number is actually still carries value. I don't see where Paul Craig wins this fight.
All right, one of those rare ones where we're going to take the -220 there. We're still seeing some value even on a high odds. How about lightweight? Jai Herbert, who's also a UK guy who's been on these cards, taking on Fares Ziam. What do you think of this lightweight bout?
Well, I'll make up on that -220 here, and I'm going to go with Jai Herbert at +145. I don't think Fares Ziam should even be the favorite, let alone -170. You know, his last fight, he got one win. He out-grappled the guy for 3 rounds. But Jai Herbert's got good takedown defense. He was able to stop Kyle Nelson's wrestling, and he's the better striker. Value at +145 on the hometown guy in Jai Herbert.
All right, and then rounding out this main card, you got Lerone Murphy taking on Josh Kulabau, who's coming off of a very nice performance in his own backyard, his last time out. But he's the underdog here, +125 against Lerone Murphy at a 145. What do you think on this one?
I like Lerone Murphy here. I think the fight's going to be on the feet, and I do think Murphy is the better striker. I think he carries more power. I think Culibao is extremely durable, puts on a tough pace. That choke you saw that Culibao won doesn't happen very often with him. He was losing round one. He just jumped on the right opportunity there, as you're supposed to do. Murphy at home, really hard to not pick him. I think he's a good prospect, minus 150. Let's go with Lerone Murphy.
All right, so that clears out the main card, the 6-fight main card. Again, you can find it on ESPN Plus, and you can also find all of these prelim fights on ESPN Plus, and it is a stacked lineup of prelims, 9 fights. So make sure you're getting up early, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We give picks on every single one of these. So Ian, the floor is yours. Take me through all of your picks for the UFC Fight Night prelims.
Will do, my man. Look, Daniel Marcos is a very, very, very good prospect. For him to be the favorite over Davey Grant, who's a proven vet, very durable, I got to take Grant at plus 120. I'm going to go Parsons over Danny Roberts, who has shown us that he is just doesn't have it anymore. That chin is suspect. Parsons got a tough kick. Joel Alvarez, as long as he's not on his back for 3 rounds, he should win this fight. I'm taking Mick Parkin, who's 6-0, all wins by finish against Jamal Pogues. Pogues is tough, but he is a decision guy at heavyweight. I don't think that works against an aggressor in Parkin. Mahmoud Murdov over Brian Barberena. Barberena coming up in weight. Don't love the matchup for him. Murdov will be part of our parlay. Let's go Ketlin Vieira over Pani Kinzad. I'm also going to go under 2.5 rounds. Yanal versus Duncan. That will probably be fight of the night, so do not blink. Bruno Brazil, I'm taking her over newcomer Shauna Bannon. And last but not least, I'm going to go with Fijo over Perez. I like what Fijo did against Makayev. He did take 1 round. Now, Brett, going through all these picks, I did find a prop of the night that I did like. It's a favorite that we're going to go from minus number to a plus number. So our prop of the night is going to be Ketlin Vieira by decision. That's going to take us from a minus 150 favorite to a plus 120. And look, both her and her opponent, they don't finish fights. It's all decisions. I think Vieira is the better striker, better in the clinch. As long as she doesn't get out-cardioed, and that is a word, against her opponent, I think she gets another decision victory here. And we're going to go from minus odds to plus odds, and that will be our prop of the night.
All right. Fitting in that prop of the night there on your prelim picks. And from there, we move to the main order of business, and that is the parlays, the best bets, the long shot parlays. Let's start with Parker's parlay. Where are we going on Saturday?
Admittingly, this is chalky. Maybe not one of my chalkiest, but I want to win 2 in a row going into 291. Give me Aspinall money line. Give me Lerone Murphy Culibao over 1.5 rounds. Give me Murdoch to beat Brian Barberena. 3 favorites, plus 103, almost even money. A little bit better than that. I'm playing it safe. I want to go 2 in a row. Let's go.
All right, a little bit of a cautious play there by Ian, but he wants to go 2 in a row on the parlays. Let's see what we got for the best bets there from the O2 Arena in London.
Now this one, I did think a nice little mix of chalk and underdogs and then middle ground with these plays. So we're going to go Wood Feely to go the distance at minus 200. Both guys durable. I think if Wood does win, it would be by decision. Feely is not an easy task for him going the distance there. Andre Muniz, I loved it at minus 190. I like it at minus 220. I think he bounces back here and gets it done. I'm making Jai Herbert one of my best bets. I really think this fight stays on the feet. He's a better striker. We saw what he had against Tapuria. I think he gets it done here at plus 145. I'm taking another hometown hero in Lerone Murphy over Josh Culibao. It is a tougher fight than the odds say, but Murphy, I believe his striker will get it done. Joel Alvarez should be able to dominate in this fight. Please stay off your back. And last but not least, Duncan Ashmoose under 2.5 rounds. Both guys explosive, big finishers. And Ashmoose, if he gets this done, keep an eye on him. People don't take him seriously, and they absolutely should.
I got to say, Parker always comes with a little bit of confidence, but I'm feeling some extra confidence there on the best bets. Maybe it's because we're going to see each other in person for Salt Lake City next weekend. But I'm feeling a lot of confidence here from these picks. And how about this one, the long shot parlay? Read it out and then tell us what the payout is, Ian.
Absolutely. We're going to go Jai Herbert. Listen, if I think he's going to be a best bet and I'm getting plus odds, why would I not put him in the long shot? I just think a lot of these underdogs have good chances of winning this week. We're going to go Davey Grant. We're going to go Johnny Parsons, Mick Parkin, and Yanal Ashmoose. We're going to get plus 5, 3, 4, 1 on our money here. If any time to hit the long shot, I think this one gives us the best chance. You know, I think some of these guys that are underdogs shouldn't. I don't think Herbert should be. I think Yanal Ashmoose is being undervalued here as well. And Nick Parkin's a question mark. He's making his UFC debut, but that's what we're here for, and that's the information we're given. Let's hit this one this week.
Yeah, man, I got to say, those are my favorite long shot parlays, is when we're taking a bunch of close odds. I mean, I liked the theme that you had. I believe it was last week. It was a submission theme where we had 3 guys by submission. Was that last week or maybe the week before? I like those little themes that you get into, but these
Yeah.
close competitive fights where you take a little bit of the underdogs, you're just trying to nail 5 in a row. I like those, and I got a good feeling about all of the picks this week. And before we wrap up, let's talk a little bit about UFC 291 because we're looking forward to it so much. Ian and myself will be in Salt Lake City. In fact, we'll be doing the show live from a restaurant called Flankers. More details will come on that. Pay attention to our social media feeds. You can go there in person if you're going to be in town for UFC 291. But quickly, let's talk about Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje too. Of course, we're going to be breaking this down in depth. But some early thoughts on Gaethje actually being a -125 favorite over Poirier +105. Those were the opening odds, and now it has flipped to Poirier being a small favorite, which makes more sense to me, to be honest with you. I was a little surprised that Poirier came out as the underdog. But what do you think about the odds in this BMF title fight?
I agree with you. I think Dustin Poirier should be the favorite here. You know, they fought before, and granted, both guys have done a ton since then. You know, I think what Justin Gaethje is going to bring to the table is what he did the first time. He's got to establish those leg kicks early on to slow Poirier's output, slow his cardio down. Listen, I think we're in for an absolute banger. I don't know if this goes 5 rounds. It didn't the first time. But one key factor here that I think takes the pressure off both these guys that will allow them to go out there and really do their best is the fact that neither one of them are going to be fighting Islam Makhachev like 2 months later. So the pressure of having to take something else on short notice gives them the opportunity to go out there, win this BMF title, go put on a show, go make the money in a non-title main event, because the BMF's not like a real title here. But this is going to be a fun fight. Look at overs, unders in this one. We're going to look at props. These odds are close for a reason. These two deserve to fight each other. It makes a lot of sense.
Guys, just enjoy this fight, right? I mean, if you want to have action on it, of course. I mean, that's what this entire show is about. But Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, I mean, obviously 2 fan favorites, 2 dogs, 2 guys who've been doing this for such a long time, and they both badly need a win in order to get one last shot at a UFC lightweight championship. I am expecting absolute fireworks, absolute heart, everything that we love about Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje in a 5-round, 25-minute fight. Oh my God, I can't wait to get to Salt Lake City and talk all about it and then watch this fight with you, Ian. I will see you next week, but before then, we have a big one. Tom Aspinall taking on Marcin Tybura. Enjoy that fight, and hopefully we put some money and some good thoughts in your wallets and in your brains. And we will be right back, UFC 291, in person to talk about those BMF title fights. Until then, we will see you next time.